the Music Theory Lady. Hi there, welcome back to the Music Theory Lady. Today we're talking major scales. What is a scale? A scale is a collection of pitches in ascending and descending order. We're going to talk mostly at the start about diatonic scales. Diatonic scales are your typical major and minor scales. They are heptatonic, which means 7 notes. They are made up of a pattern of whole and half steps. So all of these are going to have sort of patterns that we consider formulas that we're going to use to create these scales, and they're all different whole and half step patterns. Later on, you're going to get to know diatonic meaning as just within the key. So if we're talking about diatonic pitches, we're talking about pitches within that key. For instance, sorry, we're fast forwarding here, but in the key of C major, there are no sharps or flats. So if I choose any note out of all of the letters without sharps and flats, I'm diatonic. If I choose, let's say, C sharp, that would be considered a non-diatonic pitch because it's not from the original key of C major. It had to be chromatically altered. Then you need to know that the very first note of a scale is called tonic. It's also the last note of the scale. It is the most stable. It's a point of rest. It should feel really good when it gets back to tonic. A lot of pieces end on tonic just because it feels really nice to end that way. So for instance, if I played a scale for you and then ended it before it got back to tonic, it should feel really unsettled. Here goes. You should feel this tension, you should feel this resolution needed kind of a thing to where you really need this to play that final note. So that tonic is going to be the place where sort of everything revolves around. A few things that we need to know about major scales. There are 4 main steps to building a good major scale. Number 1 is it has to have 8 total notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And those 8 notes, the first and last note must match. Remember, we said the first and the last note were tonic, so they have to be the same. Meaning if I start a scale on C, the last note should be C. If I start the scale on F, the last note should be F. If I start the scale on G flat, the last note needs to be G flat. You have to add that flat again for it to be matching on the ends. A scale must be alphabetical, meaning that you won't have any repeated letters. So it should go A, B, C, D, E, or if we're starting on C, C, D, E, F, G. You shouldn't have C and then D double sharp and then F. You shouldn't be skipping any letters. There should be one for every line and every space without skipping. And then finally, the formula, that's the most important. W's in this formula mean whole step, H's mean half step. So the formula for all major scales is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So 2 wholes and half and then 3 wholes and half. If you can memorize that formula, you can make a major scale off of any note. And here's how we're going to do it. Okay, so let's give it a try. We're going to draw a few scales on some staff paper. If you've got some staff paper at home, feel free to pull it out and draw along with me. Okay, so first we're going to start in treble clef. We've got the key of C is what we're starting on for our scale. Remember, in our steps we need to draw 8 notes. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We want to make sure the first and the last note match. I have it starting on C and ending on C, so that's good. And we also want to make sure we have 1 note per line and space, or that we're moving alphabetically. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We're good. Now we just have to fill in the formula. So I fill it in between the notes, because when we're moving a whole or a half step on the piano, we're going between keys. So for instance, I need to move up a whole step from C. So here's C on the piano. I'm going to go up a whole step or 2 half steps. So 1, 2, and that takes me to D. And I see I don't have to add any sharps or flats to it because it's just normal natural D. D goes up a whole step to E, so I can leave E as it is. I need to go up a half step from E. That takes me to F, so I can leave F as it is. F goes up a whole step to G, so I can leave G as it is. G goes up a whole step to A, so I can leave A as it is. A needs to go up a whole step, so A up a whole step to B, So there's B, I don't have to do anything with it. And then B up a half step to C. It takes me to C. So I know it seems like, okay, great, we didn't have to do anything. It's not like that for all scales. C major is the only one that comes out with no sharps or flats. That's why I like to start with it. It's a little bit easier. These next two scales we're going to draw, we're going to get into some sharps and flats. So we're looking at now the key of A major. One thing I want to point out is if you have sharps or flats in a scale, they're going to happen throughout the scale. You're not going to have a sharp here and a flat there and a flat there and a sharp there. If you have one note that's sharp, then all of the notes that have accidentals should be sharps as well when it comes to a major scale. Same with flats. So you shouldn't have a mixture. So starting on A, we're going to draw our 8 notes. Okay, my first and my last note match. I have one of every letter and one on every line and every space. Now I'm going to fill in my formula. Again, filling it in between the notes. So A goes up a whole step on my piano to B. So I don't have to do anything with that B. B goes up a whole step. So again, 2 half steps, 1, 2. And that makes us land on this black key, which is 2 names, C sharp or D flat. And the question is, which one do we choose? Well, so far we have an A and a B. The next letter we're supposed to have, based on what we drew, is some kind of C. So I would need to call it some kind of C. So I'm going to choose C sharp. Now, because I've chosen sharps, all of the rest of the notes that have accidentals should be the sharp as well. C sharp up a half step takes me to D. D up a whole step will take me to E. E up a whole step takes me to another black key. We've got F sharp or G flat we can choose. Again, we're on the F right now, so naturally we would choose F sharp, but also we already had sharps, so we need to make sure we stick with sharps. So we're going to choose F sharp. F sharp up a whole step takes me to another black key, but again, I need some kind of G, so I'm going to choose G sharp. And then G sharp up a half step takes me back to A. So if I end up at the note I'm supposed to based on what I've already drawn, that's a pretty clear indication that I've drawn the scale correctly. Let's hear what that scale sounds like. Okay, and now we're moving on. We're going to do one in C clef. This is alto clef. We're going to start on E flat. First, draw all 8 notes. Now remember, we said we need to make sure our first note and our last note match. Right now, they don't match because this is E flat at the start, and my last note is E. So I have to add a flat to that note to make sure I have matching notes at the beginning and the end. Then we're going to go ahead and fill in our formula. Okay, and then using our piano, E flat needs to go up a whole step. So E flat on the piano, going up a whole step takes me to F. F needs to go up a whole step, so we're going to take that to G. G needs to go up a half step, so G up a half step is G sharp or A flat. Well, we just said we're already coming from G, so we're not going to use G sharp, so we'll use A flat. A flat up a whole step, another black key, but I need some kind of B now, so that would be B flat. B flat up a whole step takes me to C. C up a whole step takes me to D, and D up a half step takes me to E flat. Let's hear what that scale sounds like. So that's how you build those major scales. Again, you can start any scale on any note, any major scale, and as long as you follow those rules, those 4 rules for building a major scale, you should wind up with a correct major scale every single time. And that's all for major scales today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.